Good evening, everyone. I am Relyn Dare, and I am playing Lily Sanger in our Vampire the Masquerade DC by Night Chronicle Vengeance Waits. Tonight, I'm going to do something a little special for all you viewers. You're going to join me for a chapter summary that covers episodes 1 through 10, but we're doing it as something unique. Tonight's episode is called DC by Night Vengeance Waits, A Letter from Lily, the story so far, part 2. Lily has been reporting to a certain kindred in another city, unbeknownst to anyone in DC, even her own coterie. She likes to keep some secrets close to the chest, so even this report that she's going to send out isn't going to include everything. The things that aren't covered are actually going to be done after a brief break after the letter is read to you. And we will be doing that more of an out-of-character thing. During that time, I will be engaging with the chat, answering any questions you may have. And if you have specific questions about possible plans or story with Lily, I'd be happy to answer within certain limitations. I'm not going to give too many spoilers for Chapter 2 tonight. So, let's go ahead and get ready. The scene is, Lily is in her personal quarters. You see, nobody bothers her in there without her guards knowing. And it's going to be July 5th, 2018, the night after the events of the riots. It's going to happen sometime during our next stream, sometime during that night, probably close to when she turns in. She's going to have a few minutes to have some privacy in her quarters. She has written a letter that she's now proofreading before sending out through a special secret courier that only delivers correspondence between her and this kindred. July 5th, 2018. My dearest Portia, I sincerely hope everything is going well for you in Chicago. I have not heard anything about your enemy so far. I will continue to keep my eyes and ears open, of course. However, a certain Archon has been active in town for some time, one that claims to be Anton, a Ventrue. I have recently found out his name is Lucius Antonius when he was announced at Stanford's coronation. Yes, that happened on the 1st. Stanford is now Prince of DC, and although he will be bonding many of the Primogen, I and my companion Steve are exempt due to being instrumental to Prince Warwick's ascension. His rule is still in process of being solidified. He is a stern but fair prince with a brutal streak when necessary. Exactly what this city needs. For now. Vitel's lack dictatorship left much of our kind to their own devices far too long. The mess left to correct is significant. Prince Warwick's court and council is as follows. Senshaw, Karina Dobson, Ventrue. She is very skilled as she has retained her title in spite of the change in leadership. I do not trust her one bit, but she is ruthlessly efficient and a joy to work with. Warlock, Valois Sang, Tremere, of course, former regent of Montreal. He is of note as I am certain he rose in the pyramid's ranks quickly. He's handy at times for my own machinations. Not to mention his breadth of supernatural knowledge is impressive. Keeper, Art Morgan, Gangrel. Interesting choice, I know. He acts like a hippie from the 1960s, but I'd swear he is very old. Only one of significant age and power can convince an entire city they can be trusted. I have not fallen for that trap. Harold, Waylon Smith, Toreador. He is a young rose, but a very skilled harpy. He is thoroughly in my pocket. I'm certain he will do an outstanding job and also feed me court intel when I need it. Sheriff, Quartermain, Nosferatu. Yes, the one who tracked you down for me. Your mind wipe was very effective with him. He has no clue what really transpired between us. Hound, Locke, Gangrel. She has been a companion of mine for some time. I know Stanford did this as a carrot and stick technique. Quartermain is the conversationalist, and she is his muscle. Scourge, Victoria Fitzhenry, La Sombra. I swear I've heard her surname before, but I can't place it. Perhaps you know of it? She is effective in her role and only had to be scolded for inappropriate behavior once. She is obviously trainable. Primogen, Toreador, myself, of course. There really was no competition. Primogen, Ventru, Felix LaRue, from out of town but has a pet sewer rat named Stephen who has a history in D.C. Felix will be bonded to Stanford. Primogen, Tremere, Cone Rose. I almost feel pity for him. He's the ambitious sort. Tried to name himself Pontifex after the former Pontifex disappeared, but Valois arrived and then demoted him back to regent again. He will also be blood bonded to the prince. Primogen, Malkavian, Dr. Geoffrey Granger. He is a bastard, plain and simple. Sire of both my companion Steve and friend Dr. Samuel Ludlow. He is always hostile to some degree. I imagine his immortality is at risk at this point. He will be bonded to the prince. Primogen of the Clanless and Unbound, Steve Perry, my Kaitif companion. He is very useful to have around. We have a partnership of sorts. I'm the face, he's the hatchet man. Prior to the coronation, I, with my companions Steve, Locke, and Quartermain, brokered some deals with the local Bonars tribe in Rock Creek Park. Their leader, Mother, is a sensible sort. She has a few pups that are not. One decided to try to start trouble in my club after a VIP show of Chocolate Drop. Side note in parentheses, you really should book her for your club. The show was a hit. I can assist you if you desire to do that. That rebellious pup was brought to near death by Locke and Steve, but I drank her down. She was delicious. Quartermain delivered her head to the Bonars. I doubt those rebellious young pups will try to test us again. We also teamed up with a particularly psychopathic Malkavian named Razor to raid a Second Inquisition black site outside of the city. We had the Scourge and one of her companions, an anti-tribute Tremere named Gregory Markov, with us. I later found out he is related to Angelique Stravinsky, a rose in my garden, and Ivan Markov, a Bruja who is known to me to be Angelique's brother. The raid was a success. Not a one of the Second Inquisition operatives survived, and their data was seized by us. Steve is currently decrypting the drives. See, he really is handy. There were some religious sorts with them. A sister from the Order of St. Clair was performing experiments with a kindred, Razor's wife, and a kine who was severely injured. A Father Michael from the Order of the Good Death was also disposed of. The kine and 3 agents from Blackwater, a contractor agency, were killed, as well as a government agent. You may want to investigate Blackwater in Chicago if you choose. I will be looking into them here. Other goings-on that may interest you. You are already aware that we discovered an old La Sombra sleeping under the city. She's pulled a few stunts, but nothing major yet. Of note, though, Chaz Voyager has been possessed by someone old and powerful. I believe it is someone else, not the La Sombra. His eyes turn gold, he sings and performs unusual music, said, "I missed you in Marseille," but has never been there, I even confirmed that, and was able to entrance 50 kine just last night. I had to shoot Chaz to break the link. I'm not certain who it is, but I will try to find out. I believe it may be a Malkavian. My premonitions since arriving in this city have been odd, as if they are being manipulated or directed. I will be devoting significant resources to figure this out. I also may have a way to help Chaz break free, but I haven't decided if I will help him yet or not. I became adoptive sire to Rachel Evans and had high hopes she would be a good protege if I could get her to control herself a bit better. However, she was willfully defiant, and I destroyed her completely. Last night, Stanford's plans to destroy Vitel's power came to fruition, but as Vitel already left, so it fell on us to deal with. There were riots in the city. DC was burning. My club was spared because I have the best kind working for me. I already mentioned what Chaz did last night. Also, Amos, a Nosferatu and friend of all of us, perished due to the possession by a Strix. Quartermain proved he is Stanford's lapdog by becoming his hitman. I'm sure that will lead to bad things for him. He just doesn't see it yet. Last night netted me a lot of valuable intel that I may need to leverage soon. I do what I do best, make friends and influence people. I'm sure I will be sharing much more juicy gossip when I write next. Faithfully yours, Lily. Okay, so back out of character now. Lily will be basically sending this letter off by courier to Portia, who is also actually Helena, the Methuselah of Toreador that runs the Succubus Club in Chicago. Lily is a descendant of Helena. She had hired Quartermain to help her track down some leads for rumors that she had heard that she was descended from Helena, and Quartermain found Helena. This is part of their backstory. The story was that they found Helena. Helena gave Lily the rights to open up a franchise and then wipe their memories. Well, she wiped Quartermain's memory. She had other plans for Lily. Lily's a tool to her. Helena is looking into the missing enemy of hers, Menelaus, otherwise known as Menelaus, a Brujah Methuselah that has been fighting with her for centuries and centuries and centuries. They were fighting under Chicago for a long time. He just up and left at some point. I guess he got bored with it, and she hasn't been able to track him down since. So Lily is her eyes and ears in the city. Okay, so looking through questions. So right now, this letter would be sent off to her. There's already been previous letters sent to Portia in the past that Lily has reported certain events. And I'm going to go ahead and start, since that didn't take as long as I anticipated, start talking about some things that I missed intentionally in the letter. Kindred are unreliable historians to a fault. Lily is notoriously bad about it, but she does so kind of intentionally. She ends up telling things from her perspective in a way that makes her look good and makes her look more powerful than she is at current, and eventually to reflect how powerful she plans to become. She also has certain loyalties that she would never out certain things because she doesn't want to cause that kind of risk to certain relationships she has developed. So, my other notes I have, I have not ever mentioned as Lily to Portia that Quartermain is copying the Book of the Grave War. That's what he's doing. Lily's aware of it. She's not going to tell because that is ridiculously dangerous information. She also never once told Portia that Locke had any kind of interactions with Sybil, the La Sombre Methuselah under the city. She feels loyal to Locke because Locke has helped her out a lot and has been fairly loyal to her as well, so she doesn't want to throw Locke under a bus. Including with that, Quartermain had visited Dorian early in our sessions in session 1 with Steve to discuss Locke's predicament without discussing her specifically, and found out that there is a way to kind of trap a Methuselah in a kindred's head to keep them distracted so they don't end up taking over the kindred. While Locke wasn't interested in that because the risks associated with it are pretty severe, that's something Lily has in her pocket later that she may do for Chaz. She just hasn't decided if she's going to do that yet or not. Also during that episode, Dorian had admitted to altering Art Morgan's memory, so that's why Art Morgan is the way he is, acting like a 1960s hippie even though he's very old. I didn't mention anything about the situation between Locke and Tabitha and them becoming reversed sire-child or anything like that. In Lily's mind, that is not really important. Tabitha really isn't of note to someone like Helena at this point in time. May come up later, but I kind of doubt it because Tabitha's just not important to a Toreador hunting for a Brujah. And even though it's intel, it's not really valuable intel. Anyone who's anybody would know it happened if they heard rumors from the court. Let's see. Didn't really get into the details of Rachel and Chaz having their fallings out or Rachel ending up in prison or anything like that. She just kind of summed it up like, well, you know, Lily got her Primogen seat, which showed she had undermined Chaz completely. Rachel was assigned to her as an adopted child. She tried to fix Rachel and couldn't be fixed, and so she destroyed her completely. And Helena will know exactly what that means, that Lily diablerized Rachel. I kind of glossed over the brokering of deals that the coterie did with the Bone Gnawers in the park, because that really is something Lily would not tell, because that's deals in Stanford's domain that Lily would not divulge. She has a little bit of loyalty to Stanford. Let's see. I did not mention the name of Razor's wife. Didn't want to give Helena that kind of information. Not yet. That we saved from the Second Inquisition. And then, let's see. It would have been presumed that if Lily had taken on Rachel as her child, Rumors from the Court is a great title. It is. I also didn't mention that that Lily had been working on bonding Rachel. Helena's an old school Toreador. She would have assumed that Lily was bonding Rachel to try to bring her in line. So it went without saying. Didn't mention anything about getting Rachel out of jail or developing potential new contacts between Steve getting the dirty cop that we dealt with to get Rachel out, or Lily dealing with the captain of the precinct while we were getting Rachel out. Those are potential new contacts that Steve's player and I can eventually develop if we choose to. But that's something Lily would keep in her pocket and not share with Helena. Let's see. Did not mention anything about Waylon's erratic behavior. Lily has plans for that, and if they go well, it's going to be a moot point anyway. Also didn't mention anything about Locke saving her father, anything about Quartermain wanting to go after his father. She wasn't going to throw her coterie under the bus quite like that. She did mention about Quartermain becoming Stanford's hitman, but she didn't specify who, what, when, or where. Just that he did it, and that it's going to lead to repercussions down the line for him. That's how Lily sees it, that he's fully become Stanford's lapdog. And she doesn't trust him at all, and she knows it's going to be the fall for him, because nothing good's going to come of that. She did mention the Strix issue, but not how prevalent they were in the city. Helena's old, probably knows something about them, and knows that when she mentioned riots, that was probably why the Strix were there. Did not mention about Steve seeing the former pontifex in the city. That's something that she wouldn't share yet, because there's not enough info. Lily hasn't seen her with her own eyes. That's coming up, I'm sure. Let's see. Also didn't mention seeing Marissa's ghost or any of the weird ghost vampire kid stuff that Steve saw. She wouldn't go into that with her. Let's see. Also, she intentionally did not mention anything pertaining to Dr. Ludlow other than being a child of Granger and being a friend. She did not mention anything about Dr. Philo Exeter, because those are potential allies for Lily, and she's not going to divulge everything to the Methuselah she's descended to, because let's be real, She knows she's a tool, she knows she's being used, and she's going to keep some things close to the chest, just to protect herself if she can. So yeah, so she didn't mention anything about those. But they are new kindred in the city that are possibly allies with the Coterie members to some extent. Philo has some really good resources. He has access, I believe, to the, what is it called? Circulatory system. There you go. I remembered it. It was there. It was there. I just had to pull it. It's the circulatory system. And so that's really good. She also didn't mention anything about the Ventrue that came to perform that she didn't know was a kindred, and she found out that was True Death. She didn't mention anything about that. True Death hasn't performed yet. So if he performs and does well, she may recommend him to Helena later. Let me look. Thinking. She doesn't mention any of her ghouls by name. She doesn't mention how many ghouls she has. She just says she has the best kind working for her. She likes to protect people as much as she can. So, she didn't go into all the details of what happened the night of coronation with the situation with Stephen and Glenn and that ruckus that went on, even though that was epic. And yes, that would have tongues wagging for ages, but it's still something that she didn't want to share yet. She may share it later. As it was already a 7-page letter, and she didn't have but so much time on her hands. It's a summary. You should talk about what happened. Okay, well, what happened was that basically Quartermaine saw Stephen, which is a Nos that wasn't announced at the coronation, and it basically, yeah, storyteller's sitting here beside me. He's coaching me through this. This is my first time doing this. So basically what happened at coronation was that Felix's pet Nos, Stephen, had showed up with Felix, but then kind of like disappeared. He obfuscated, and he didn't get announced. Well, his obfuscation failed prior to the official coronation event happening. Quartermaine saw him, notified Karina, who was doing the announcements of kindred at the coronation, that he was there. And Karina loudly, because he didn't present himself as was appropriate in the beginning, so she loudly announced him to everyone present. And Stephen had in the past been in DC before and killed Glenn's daughter. So when Glenn heard his name, he started up his chainsaw and went after him. He ended up frenzying in the middle of Elysium, and Anton, the Archon, stopped it. And Glenn ended up staked. Stephen ended up declaring his fealty to Stanford. And we all thought that was done until the final episode during the riots, where Quartermaine ended up killing Stephen because Stanford had ordered him to. Because Glenn was very useful to Stanford and Stephen was not. So that spoke volumes to Lily when that event happened, but she's not sharing all that yet to Helena because Lily's got her own plans. But she did report on who the Archon was and that she learned his true name, so that may be something for Helena to chew on. She didn't mention the Pontifex's daughter showing up at Elysium, Esmeralda Sang, who was announced as a Lasombra, but hasn't presented herself at any point like a Lasombra. She presents almost more like a gangrel. But she presented herself as a Lasombra. Oh, thank you so much for the follow, Lawful Geek. She was there, and it was very tense when she showed up because the Pontifex and her were kind of giving each other death stares, and it was definitely interesting, but Lily's not going to discuss that yet because Lily has her plans. Let's see. Okay. Yep, yet another ghoul. Yay! Okay. Haven't mentioned anything about Quartermain working on a PI network and Lily working on increasing her status. As far as Lily working on increasing her status, that's just kind of a given based on the stuff she's done and the stuff she's reported so far to Helena. Quartermain, not really that important. Just for her, she would be mostly concerned that he is still not aware of what happened. Not important to Helena. Not important to Helena. But just that he just doesn't remember what happened between them. That's what she would be interested in. And so that's what Lily touched on. Yeah, and let's see. Lily did not mention anything how in the last episode, her ghoul was able to get them out of a tight spot using a badge from Federal Protective Services. She did not mention anything about Wayland possibly embracing Raphael, his ghoul, which Lily thinks might have happened, and that will come up next episode. We'll see if that happened and what happens because of that. And let's see. Let me put myself on mute for a second while I make sure I didn't miss anything important. If you have questions, type them into chat. So, okay, any questions? So, yep, the cat's out the bag. We'll see how, when it comes out in Chapter 2, if it comes out in Chapter 2, the Coterie reacts to Lily being an agent of Helena.
Spooky storyteller voice says, big shit's gonna happen because of that.
So.
Lots of big shit's happening next episode. Don't
yes,
miss
that
it.
is true.
It's gonna be bad.
Would we maybe see or hear a reply from Portia at some point? Stop unmuting. More than likely, we will see or hear a reply from Portia at some point. I very likely Lily would receive a letter from Portia. Yeah, she would definitely respond. I would think that there has been back and forth correspondence between the two. This is kind of a new story that McStabber and I came up with. Oh, thank you, Vancouver by Night. Yeah, it'll be read on stream. It'll be a reply that she reads during session. Like, she'll go privately to her quarters and find that a letter's been left for her, and she's going to open it up and read it on stream. So yeah, it's been back and forth correspondence. It's been an ongoing thing, but it is a new story. Shanky and I discussed it just a few days ago, that it would end up being a new storyline for Lily. That would have been an old storyline, just never came up, because Lily is known for her secrets. She doesn't reveal everything, ever. So, and she keeps some secrets from even her coterie mates, because that's just how she is. So, and it's also a tie-in for our Chicago Chronicle that'll be coming up once we wrap up DC. We're not sure exactly how long DC is going to be yet. It's going to matter of how long it takes us to get to a point where we feel like the story's kind of done. And then we'll be moving on to Chicago, and we're going to be using our characters that we play, Quartermain, Locke, Lily, and Steve, as lore sheets for our Chicago Chronicle. We will have them available as lore sheets. So, any other questions or comments? If you have watched the stream, what are some of your favorite moments? I'd love to hear those. Steve being low-key smartass at the worst times. Yeah, that's legit on brand for Steve. He is low-key smartass at the absolute worst times. He's led to a raid on the Succubus Club because of that. He's made Cone frenzy because of that. He's caused a masquerade breach that might have led to a Second Inquisition raid on Octagon House the night of the riots. We shall see.
She's giving away spoilers. Oh, shit.
Maybe. We'll see. May have happened, may not have. You feel like Lily is going to diablerize someone else. That's from Versus 1918. Yeah, that's likely on the agenda. Not to say she'll necessarily go about doing it right away. While she gained a lot from that diablerie. Yeah, exactly. That's like saying the sun is rising tomorrow. Yeah, from Jonan. Yeah, totally true. It's on brand for her now. But while she's not likely to do it right away, she's tasted the power from it, but at the same time, she knows it comes at a cost. She loses humanity with it, and that's a scary thing for a social toreador, because if she can't interact with people and she runs a club, or she takes a penalty for interacting with people and she runs a club, that's a significant hit. So it's definitely, she would have to weigh out the perks versus the consequences from it before she did it again. Are we sure this isn't a Sabbat Chronicle? No, this is not a Sabbat Chronicle. This is a Camarilla Chronicle. It is very much Machiavellian politics through and through. Versus 1918, her humanity is 5. No, as of the episode 10, her humanity is back up to 6. She ended up helping a bum in the sewers instead of going with the coterie to deal with Amos. And this bum was injured, and she patched him up and basically helped him out. And it was very much against who and what she is. But she mainly did it because she didn't want to go further into the sewers. She was kind of done with crawling around under the city that night. But yeah, so she got a humanity back for that. So she's back up to 6. But she's a low 6 now. Before she diablerized, she was a high 6. Now she's a low 6. I liked it when Q let slip that Stanford ordered the hit on Steven. Yeah, I liked that too as a player. That came from Uring, our player who plays Steve, the Kaitif. When he did that, I stuck it in my pocket right away because I'm like, he wasn't supposed to do that. That's a meta thing, but I wasn't playing that as a character. I just, as a character, played it as it was unusual that would happen, especially after Steven had just, dedicated his fealty to him, to Stanford, that Stanford would order him killed. But it also made sense to Lily because obviously Glenn was more important to Stanford than Steven was, and Stanford was cleaning house. But the fact that Felix was Steven's best friend, and Felix is a primogen, Lily instantly knew Felix would not be pleased if he ever found that out. So she stuck that in her pocket. Blackmail ammo maybe? We'll see. No, never fear, no good deed goes unpunished. So the bum will come up again in a later episode. That'll be funny. Hey, Lily did not linger and kiss the bum, okay? Any other moments that you've seen in our stream that you really liked? Or any critique of anything we've done? I'll take that too.
storyteller has one. Why can't we just like murder half the coterie and then have the other half the coterie murdered and then start playing Chicago?
I'm ignoring him. Because our stories aren't done yet. But it'll be soon. We'll probably be playing Chicago around spring of next year. Might be a little earlier, might be a little later, but we're anticipating spring. So. Yaring said that would let the storyteller off too easy.
All mysterious voices aside, I want to say that it's been a pleasure running this first chapter with the players I have. It's been a pleasure sharing Vampire with my wife, with my friends. I've enjoyed it a lot. It's been great. It's been needed, some well-needed stress relief for all of us involved in the channel. And I thank all of our viewers who have been along for the ride. This first chapter was our first try at streaming.
Yeah.
Things will be darker. Expect to see changes. Expect to see not the same story we've told so far. Changes in Lily, changes in Locke. The divided loyalties that this coterie has is going to come to the front. That's
going to be a significant theme of at least the beginning part of the next chapter. There is some division happening for sure. There is a lot, Lily, when she diablerized Rachel, the next night she called her coterie together to report to them what had happened, but she did it as a test. She wanted to see who was loyal to her as a coterie mate and who wasn't. Because even though it was completely within her rights to do, there's nothing really wrong with doing it. It's kind of ethically a little bankrupt. And she wanted to see who would be on her side. And Steve was on her side. No questions asked. Not a problem. Locke, on her side as long as she doesn't have to lie about it. Noted. Don't ever trust Locke with information she has to lie about. That can be arranged. Quartermain flat out told Lily, if you don't want the prince to find out, don't get me involved. Bam. That was instantly. Lily's like, okay, not my friend, not someone I can trust, done. And so now, Quartermain may not realize it, but he cannot trust Lily one fucking bit because she will throw him under a bus if given a chance because she can't trust him.
And that's part of why the Chronicle was going dark from a storyteller's perspective. We have tried to avoid the coterie drama in the beginning, but you've got Lily with her own motivations. Mm-hmm. Quartermain has got a divided loyalty. Is he loyal to his job as sheriff and the prince, which is Nosferatu? Or is he loyal to the coterie? Where his sense of duty lie? That is going to be explored. Locke looking for family. As part of a summary, Locke wants a family.
Yeah. That's her big ambition.
That's her ambition. But what's happening when she's caught between her duty to the sheriff and her loyalty to Lily that has been her friend for so long? What depths will Steve go to? What will Steve sacrifice to hold on to his seat? What will he sacrifice to hold on to power, to be what he is wanting to be?
How ballsy is Lily going to be to get what she wants?
Yeah, how much of a risk is Lily willing to take?
What kind of risks are Lily willing to take to get exactly what she wants?
And this is the beginning of the Chronicle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is going to be early episodes.
Beginning of the chapter.
Yeah, of the chapter. This is going to be early episodes. This is part of the summary. When we're summarizing, it's not just what you've done.
It's also what's coming.
It's what's coming and how the game has progressed for the players. I've seen my wife grow as a player this whole first chapter.
Thank you.
She's come a long way from the start. I've seen Steve grow as a character and a player. He's coming into where in the first chapter, Steve had a more of a background role and a background part of the coterie. He has got a more prominent role coming. Steve and I have talked. There's some bigger stuff coming. whereas Quartermain's been able to develop into this ultra duty-bound individual. That's changing. And that's coming forward. And, you know, it's been a pleasure to run this story for the first story I come back to in 20 years.
And
I'm glad
honestly,
you're
it's
off
been
on the ride.
it's honestly been a pleasure to play. It really has been. I mean, I've been able to do some really serious character development with Lily, and that's something I absolutely love in any kind of game. I mostly played video games prior, and I always tended towards games that allowed me to play character rich stories. So basically being able to really just have all the guardrails off and just deep dive into character development with this character, Lily Sanger, the Toreador, who is ambitious and brutally ambitious at times, but also she's got a little softness still to her that's hidden deep. And, you know, so she's really just a fascinating character to develop and play. And I'm so glad that I got introduced to like LA by Night, because I saw like the first 2 or 3 episodes and I'm like, oh my God, I've got to play that, because it looked like a perfect game for me. And then Shanky was like, okay, well, let's find some people and play. And
That softness, I think, is going away next chapter.
it probably will next chapter.
You'll see less of that. I
Yeah.
don't think the way the story is going, we're going to have nearly. I'll be honest, it's not going to be as lighthearted as we've been playing.
No.
It's not going to be as cheerful. What has happened when we bring up summary? I do not reveal too many other plans to Lily.
Let's read the question first, because when we show this on YouTube, people have no idea what we're answering. Okay, so first off, we have Apostas saying, I enjoyed the, is it Polish or, I think it's Polish bit. I've lifted some of it for another chronicle I'm in. Fantastic. We are glad that what we're doing has inspired you to make some tweaks to your own chronicle. That's kind of what we're doing this for. We want to share the experience with others so that they can, you know, learn from us, even critique us. You know, if we can improve, let us know. Then he commented, Lily for Queen Prince of DC 2020. No, Lily's got bigger fish to fry than that. She doesn't want DC. She wants another city.
So for Jonan asked, how do I discuss the game after the sessions? Find it difficult to reveal too much of my plans to Relin. I'm notorious for revealing fake plans to Relin.
Yeah, he is.
I will taunt her with storylines that'll never happen.
Mm-hmm.
I will taunt her with situations, hypotheticals that never happen.
Mm-hmm.
I do it just to make sure she understands that anything I do reveal, there's a good chance I'm lying to her about it, just to, I hate to say it, but to tease her and fuck with her a little bit. Yeah. But I do coordinate a number of the stories behind the scenes with the players involved, because I feel it makes a better story if not only the players are into the story that I'm doing and they agree with the direction it's taking, and if they've properly been given time for some of the bigger parts to prepare how their character would think of it in their own head.
Yeah, basically to allow us to give authentic in-character reactions to situations as they arise. Because when it's something really significant as players, if we aren't given a little bit of prep with that, it's going to take us a minute to wrap our heads around it. So, and that doesn't portray well on stream, you know.
Or you'll react like you would as a person,
right,
not
or,
as the character.
Yeah.
And it's better to
Which I will say I've gotten better and better as time has gone on of really slipping into character, and it's I don't break character nearly as often as I did in the beginning. It still happens from time to time, because sometimes things get really heavy and my response to anything heavy is to like bust out laughing all of a sudden, just as nervous laughter. So yeah, that's Relin peeking through Lily a little bit. But thank you so much for the follow. Lost Tribes Gaming, appreciate that. But yeah, and he really doesn't like spoil everything for us. There's a lot that we don't know is coming that he keeps in his pocket. Joker laugh.
The only thing I generally work with the players on are things that they're going to be doing.
Like big story arcs.
Big story arcs.
Yeah.
I like when they tip me off if they're about to plan something giant, so that I have a chance to prepare for the big giant shit they're doing. Like with what's coming in Archimedes Fulcrum.
I talked to him
She
about
talked
what I
to
was
me
doing.
about her plan beforehand.
Yeah.
That way, as storyteller, I'm ready for it. But it goes both ways with our chronicle.
Yeah.
We coordinate sometimes behind the scene, and I'm not the only one who does it.
No, the players sometimes coordinate together too on stuff
Behind
that
my back.
the stuff we don't want him to know about.
Yep.
Because we know certain things that if he knows about it, he's going to do everything he can to throw a screwdriver in it and make sure it doesn't happen.
But Jason
So-
Carl does the same on LA by Night. B. Dave's told us that there's some coordination behind the scenes to make sure that the players are ready. Let's see, Steve has put himself in a tight situation. The ability to think about what's coming from the ST perspective is really helpful. Yes. And I coordinated with Steve on some of that so that Steve understands, so he can be ready for what's coming. It's not going to change the events that are coming. Him knowing ahead of time. Normally when we arrange something like this, it is one session out. That's it. I don't let them know a month ahead of time. I
Right.
don't let them know a long period of time. It's something that's going to happen right away, normally right at the beginning of a session, that I'd like them to know about,
Yeah.
so that they're ready, so that they can make sure in character they do it.
We really don't, Apostas says, don't surprise the storyteller too much too often. No, we really don't. We are a very collaborative group. And like, most of the time, I mean, in the beginning, it was because I was a new player that I kind of collaborated so much with Shanky, because I wasn't really sure if what I was thinking of doing was appropriate for the game.
She asked me a lot of times, is this what a Toreador would do?
Right.
Or is this how a Toreador would handle that?
Right, because I was
'cause she's new.
learning. I was learning the clan and how they typically would handle things like social situations or political situations and things like that. And I eventually did find some resources on, I think it was Storyteller's Vault. Old books that were like an old Clan Toreador book and Council of the Primogen or Primogen Council book, and basically it was books that basically told you about the politics and how Toreadors interact with each other and other clans, and so I read those and I learned a lot. And yes, it's out of date information in a lot of ways. I did that because it helped me learn how my character was, because my character's old. She was embraced in 1961. She would have come up in that type of circle. So she would kind of behave that way. So I learned a lot of the old stuff. I bet you're keeping McStabber captive and he is just trying to deliver message by players fucked up my plans again, yet fails. Yeah, well, we fuck up his plans a lot.
They do.
Because he improvises, but so do we.
But going back to that main question, I do not reveal to R'lyn major plot points that don't involve her. Generally, unless they relate to her, or it's something we talk about railroading and storytelling prompts. It's when I need her collaboration to influence events for the story. I've done it, and I've done it with Lance, and I've done it with Katie. I've done it with Jim.
Yep.
I've done it with everybody but Lance on certain cases when
yeah.
about his sire.
We have done it with everyone but Katie, who plays
You've
Locke.
done it with everybody but me. They've plotted behind my back.
They've done it with everyone but Lily.
Yep. So I do not reveal to my wife more than I'm willing to reveal to the other players.
Right. Unless it's something specifically Lily-centric that we're trying to work through.
So anytime I'm sharing secrets with her, it's the same kind of secrets I share with other people.
Yeah.
I am not, I am viciously fair in general about my own personality. So I'm sure R'lyn could comment on that my own sense of justice wouldn't let me share too much with her.
Right.
I wouldn't feel right by doing it. So.
And I don't try to like pump him for information, because what I do is I go to him when I'm kind of struggling with how something would kind of play out, especially because he, as storyteller, he knows the thoughts, mannerisms, perspectives of the storyteller characters. So like something that's coming up with Lily, I have discussed with him to kind of get his impact on what would be Lily's best approach to work this with these specific kindred.
But not what their reaction would be, because I won't give away what their reactions are.
Lily has no idea.
Right. So from Lily's
I have
point
no
of view,
idea.
I'm a firm believer in, as a player, she can't know everything her character might know.
Right.
Because we're not vampires. So there's times when, that's what the dice rolls are for in games sometimes, is when your character would know something you don't.
Right.
And in this case, sometimes she asked me for advice, or would this be an approach Lily might take?
Right.
And I'd be like, well, because some of, especially in the beginning, early in the streaming in particular, there were times when if Verlin went with her own gut instinct, she would have been reacting like a Bruja
Yeah.
and would have been doing things totally in opposition to her actual character type.
Right.
But it was because she didn't know how to handle the situation otherwise,
Yeah.
So, yeah, from the story perspective, though, we don't.
I could
reveal that
probably
much.
play a Bruja, but I'm not going to for some time.
I try not to reveal too much, except where it helps the story to have things ahead of time, because ultimately it is the player's story, not mine. We're telling their story. I'm just here to supervise, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And coordinating the story that they want told.
And he gives us plot points as we need it to kind of move the story along, especially as we're starting to wrap up our individual ambitious tasks that we've done.
Yep.
We kind of need a new story thread to carry us through to the next ambitious project we want to work on. So it's basically it's very much a kind of choose your own adventure game for all of us players, where we're kind of choosing from session to session what we're going to do and how we're going to do it, and then deal with the fallout.
And if I did all of this without their input, it wouldn't be their story. It'd be my story.
Yeah.
If I was doing it without, finding out what they wanted to play, again, it wouldn't be their story, and it is their story.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so, the summary was great. It covers everything. The look ahead is the interesting part.
Yeah, Chapter 2 is going to be, like he said, darker,
More serious.
more serious. It'll be a lot more power struggling and a bit more coterie drama to some extent, that we will have to see how that resolves.
And Machiavellian politics
And
up to 11.
and Machiavellian politics up to 11. It's going to be DC's a new city under a new prince, and it's just been tried by fire.
Yep.
And those that have survived,
Yes, exactly.
it's survival of the fittest.
Avellian just said Chapter 2 is taking off the training wheels.
Yep, taking off the training wheels for the new players. Absolutely. And we are both very confident in our characters now, and we are ready to plug ahead.
Archimedes Fulcrum, for those that know what Archimedes, Urian put it best when I told him what the name of it, Archimedes Fulcrum. You give me a lever long enough and I can move the world.
Yeah.
That's what Archimedes said.
Yeah.
So the title of Archimedes Fulcrum tells you we're starting off about leverage.
Leverage.
It's
Lots of leverage.
The training wheels are gone. You're going to see the full force of vampire politics being applied to our players.
Yeah.
And I do mean not just by me, but by the players themselves to each other. You are going to see the full force of what vampire is going forward in Chapter 2.
Yeah.
Because it is going to get ugly.
Yeah.
And it's going to be fun, and it's going to be a blast.
Yeah. And it's going to be significant, y'all. It's going to be significant. Okay, so are there any other comments or questions before we wrap it up?
Yeah, sorry I butted into her summary, but I wanted to help make sure we had full... I like to fill the content for the full...
And that's fine. That's fine. That's my first time doing it solo, and let's just say I was a little nervous.
Yeah.
So I appreciate y'all hanging with me.
Of the two of us, I'm the talker. I really am.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and lead into that. Chapter 2 starts with Episode 11, Archimedes Fulcrum, on December 15th, which is next Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern. So that is our normal time, normal place right here at McStabber Studios on Twitch. And it's going to be Archimedes Fulcrum on December 15th.
And there will be no guests for that episode.
And there will be no guests for that episode. It is a very coterie-centered episode. You're very welcome versus thank you for stopping by the stream. And we are a proud affiliate of Gehenna Gaming. Check out their Twitch channel. They do streams on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Oh, thank you, Hunster, for the follow. And we also have our McStabbers Lounge in the Discord server, which Shanky has just posted. We also... We are friends with multiple Vampire the Masquerade channels, along with Gehenna Gaming. We also are friends with Vancouver by Night. You can check them out. You can check out Macabre Derek. He does a stream at 8:30 on Sundays, which is Detroit by Night.
8:30 Eastern.
Yep. And then we have Q Times. They were doing the Long Beach by Night, which that is now on hiatus. I'm not sure if it's going to be returning or
I
not.
believe it's B. Dave hinted it might be after the holidays. We'll
Okay,
see.
so we'll see. We don't know yet. There's been no confirmation. And Vancouver by Night, they do their. When are they doing their next one?
Vancouver by Night does a monthly
Monthly
for their
game?
vampire.
Okay.
But Vancouver by Night has started doing Storyteller Chronicles, they call it, and that's where he brings in a storyteller, and it's just storyteller talking to storyteller about how we approach the craft and how we do storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very interesting. I did the interview with Vancouver by Night earlier tonight as the Storyteller Chronicles, and it was a great discussion. Just to talk. And between chapters, yes, we do not do long breaks between chapters.
Yeah, no, we
2
don't.
weeks is it. That's
Yeah,
the most we will ever do.
Dude, I've been fiending for Vampire. I have not played in a month. I'm dying.
If we ever have another big 2-week break, we will end up doing more like what you see in LA by Night with the
Vignettes.
epilogue.
Yeah.
We will do 1 or 2 people sessions.
Yeah.
3 people sessions if I have to.
Yeah.
We're going to try not to do 2-week breaks as
for,
much
for
as
the
we
stream,
have to.
because a 2-week break for the stream means we haven't played for a month, because we
Yeah, and it's
play
rough.
every other Saturday, and
Yeah.
it is rough. By
It's hard to keep the threads going that long.
yeah, by week 2, I was like twitching. I'm like, I need a game.
And not just that. I mean, we like
Vampire
sharing,
Mom suffers withdrawal. That is legit. Vampire Mom suffers
and
withdrawal.
we like to share the story. And
Yeah.
when there's a gap that long, even the viewers that want to have the story shared.
Yeah.
Forget what goes on. So yeah,
Forget
we
what
want
goes
to
on. So
continue
yeah,
it.
so we want to continue it. But yeah, so chapter 2 will be next week on Sunday, Archimedes Fulcrum, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. And it's not required, but if you really enjoy our content, do give us a sub. We have the Prime set up, so if you have Amazon Prime, you can do a free subscription, which is fantastic. 2-point flaw, hopeless addiction.
And if you like board games,
And we also do a board game stream on Wednesday nights. Right now, we are playing Tainted Grail, a hot, brand new game from Awakened Realms. Yeah. And, excuse me, I have a southern accent. And, thank you so much for the sub, Jonan.
You've been embraced.
Ooh. Vampire Mom just got a new child. Yay. Okay, so yeah, we're playing Tainted Grail by Awakened Realms. It is a dark Arthurian legend-based campaign-style game. Absolutely one of the best games I've ever played. It is a lot of fun. We play that on Wednesday nights at 9:00 p.m. Eastern Time. Next week, I will also be playing Coteries of New York. I will be streaming video games starting next week with Coteries of New York. Haven't yet decided if I'm going to do it Wednesday after the
our
board game stream. Well, there's some logistics with that. We will see. It'll either be Wednesday right after the board game stream, or it may be Thursday.
We're going to steal Steve Perry's camera for it.
Yeah, so I will be playing Coteries of New York, the visual novel style Vampire the Masquerade game. It's releasing on Wednesday, and I'm getting my hot little hands on it on Wednesday. So yay! Yep. Sorry, Apostas. That would I would send you over to the Tremere and they'd embrace you.
Yep.
You're all good.
So, for those that do not have Chicago by Night,
Yeah.
One teaser for Chapter 2 I'm going to give you. Expect to see some of the new Oblivion powers used at the table. So
Yeah.
if you don't have Chicago by Night, though I recommend you get it because it's amazing, you'll get to see some of the Oblivion in use at some point. I can't say when. It's all up to certain individuals about when it's going to be revealed.
It's not me. It's not
But
me.
there will be some powers used. So you're going to get to see some of the Oblivion used directly in game before Chicago Night hardbacks are sent to everybody.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. It's going to be
they'll
great.
them soon. So yeah, expect to see that. So those that were Lasombra lovers, you'll get to see it. Not just the Jason Carl, which he did a lot of what he did before the book came out. So before the full rules were there, he had to house rule what he had to. You're going to see none of the house rules. You're going to see it once it gets revealed by certain individuals.
I don't know, Urine, but it's not Lily.
Yeah, it's not Lily.
Lily don't want that mess. She got enough to deal with.
embrace the beast, embrace your darkness.
All right, guys. Well, I hope to see you this Wednesday when we're playing Tainted Grail. If board games are your thing, come and join us. We do interact with chat while we're playing. And if not, then come and see us on Sunday when we have episode 11, Archimedes Fulcrum, our next Vampire the Masquerade DC by Night episode. Thank you so much for joining us. Mwah.